I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's going on, my good people? Happy Monday. And it is a happy Monday indeed.
Happy Monday. We got each other now, so it is now if it wasn't before.
Yes, absolutely. And I was feeling tired, but I always love how hosting brings me to life. I love doing the show. I love doing the show with you and the topics that we get to talk about. So we will have some fun.
If not Oprah to cheer us up, I don't know who it could be.
Who else could it be? So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Super Soul Sitdown, which is the after show for Oprah's podcast, Super Soul Conversations. So we have an amazing show set up for you. And if you want to be in love or used to be in love or wonder why love is not working out for you, this is the show to watch. We're talking about how to make love last with Harville Hendrix. But before we dive all the way into that, we have a word from our founder, Maria Menounos.
Hey guys, I'm Maria Menounos, the CEO and founder of AfterBuzz TV. And for Women's History Month, we're highlighting the women in TV who have influenced us most. What I know for sure is that Oprah Winfrey is one of the most important, if not the most important person that has ever been on TV. I remember watching Oprah on her show and being so inspired to see a woman that talented and that caring host a show that affected so many lives in such a positive way. Being a businesswoman myself, there's something so special about being able to watch her produce and act and host, all while being a media executive and a philanthropist. Coming from poverty to being one of the first Black multi-billionaires and one of the greatest philanthropists in history, I think it's safe to say that Oprah sets an example like no other. Thank you, Oprah. We love you. I love you. Now, let us know who are some of the women in TV who have inspired you the most.
Yes, to the queen.
Oh, I mean,
You can't beat her.
oh my God, what a resume. In 55 seconds, like, are you serious? We're talking about Forbes, multi-billionaire, hosting, acting, producing, like, come on.
But what I love above all of her titles and accolades is she's still such a down-to-earth, realistic human being that you can still feel comfortable with, and I feel like you can tell her anything. So as much as I love the list, and she should be so proud for all those things, what stands out to me the most about Oprah is her soul, which is why we've got Super Soul Sit Down, so appropriate.
Absolutely. So thank you for sitting down with us. I am your super excited, ever evolving, transformative host. See me trying to get my verbs together. Jaimi Alexander, and to my left, I have the amazing, kind soul and very well-spoken Haley J.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, officially into March.
Yes.
How are we feeling about that?
I'm moving slow in it. There was a meme I saw that made perfect sense. It's like January was 2 months long, February was 2 seconds, and now March? Like, what are we supposed to do?
For whatever reason, that couldn't be more true.
I don't know why either.
But now we're here, we're living, and what are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about love and how to make it last. And believe it or not, this was filmed from 1993, and I love that because I don't know if you caught this, but I think it sounds like the very first show that they chose to do the podcast with, because in the beginning of the podcast, Oprah is introducing that March 3rd, which is tomorrow, this podcast is going to be coming out, and I think it's
really
the first
cool.
one.
And how we can apply those lessons when I was 0 years old to now. Well, maybe I was a couple months.
Oh, I was like, oh, that's
I was
cute.
born in 93, so.
Were you?
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's interesting how some of these exact same lessons can still apply, and unfortunately, we're still learning, but I really did get some good takeaways and techniques. I even told my roommate.
Yes.
We'll dive into the mirror technique, which I thought in particular was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should always do, and even in our modern day relationships, we should bring that in. So
it doesn't have to be romantic even, right?
Yeah.
It could be a friend.
Yeah, you know what? Good point.
Because when you're fighting with your friend, how many times do you think you're saying something and they could be interpreting what you're saying completely different?
Yeah, so let's share what the mirroring exercise was about a little bit.
Okay.
In your words, what were you thinking?
From what I took away is mirroring is basically, say you're in a fight with your significant other and you say, this is what you're doing and this is what I'm not happy with. And then you tell the person, okay, what did you hear just now? Repeat that back to me and see if they're telling you that they're receiving the same information you're giving, basically. So sometimes I think people continue fighting when they don't even really know what the other person is mad about. So just making sure you're on the same page, understanding, even if you don't agree, but understanding why someone is upset with you and relaying that information back to them that, okay, I see you, I get what you're saying. I think that's a very helpful technique to lead to hopefully a more calm conversation and not a fight.
Yeah, it's really valuable because what I got most out of this episode, and I actually did some exercises myself to help me get to the bottom of why I attract who I attract, what's going on, what was the relationship with my parents, and what residue am I carrying from my childhood. Because they say that he was saying that your early childhood experience where, there's a wound that has to be repaired with a relationship in adulthood with someone similar to your parents. And that kind of freaks me out. So these are all the things from the his book that he wrote, Getting the Love You Want and Keeping It.
I'll be honest, that's what stumped me because I want to ask you, Jaimi, I don't know what I'm searching for because my parents, I am very happy to say, were pretty good examples of a happy relationship, and I don't know what I'm searching for if I'm trying to fill. It's almost like you're trying to find the gap that you're trying to fill, and I'm fortunate to say that I don't know what that gap is. I think it comes with more dating and experience, but what did you find?
Look, I'd be happy to share with you if I could get
Breaks
transparent.
out 5 pages of notes.
Yeah, I'm like, and let me turn the page because I had to really think about it. I have a great relationship with my parents. I have amazing parents. They called us the Huxtables when we were growing up. It was cute, fun. It wasn't perfect, but my God, even looking back.
Pretty solid.
Correct. Pretty solid, right? So there were some things that I started to write down. So I closed my eyes, took a moment, and I was like, let me just write down the things that I knew I felt frustrated with as a child. So I felt like I didn't have a voice. You know, as kids, it's kind of like, be quiet and do what your parents say. And I hated that because I'm a very strong personality and I need freedom. So that's something that bothered me. Or so I felt like I was wrong a lot. So if I felt like I was wrong, that also means there was a part of me that felt like I wasn't enough. So I tend to pick men who are rebels. And my dad is super straight edge. So I don't know if that's a rebellious thing that I have going on. I kind of, feel like I'm choosing men who aren't ready or who play games or they don't choose me. I'm almost proving. So I'm looking at these things and kind of piecing it together with where I think some of the things in my relationship with my dad does have an effect on how I choose men. And then my mom wasn't very affectionate. My mom's she's an amazing woman, but she's kind of like, she's ready to move on from things. She was never like, well, let's sit down and talk about it. She'd be like, girl,
put on that red lipstick, wipe your tears,
and let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of little things. So the limited range of emotion and certain kind of TLC that I felt from my mom, blah, blah, blah. I think that some of that stuff is showing up in my relationships, and I'm doing more work to explore that because I have a type, and it is chasing me like my shadow.
It's interesting. Like, I think what I go for is actually the opposite of my dad, because
see, that's what I'm saying, the opposite of my dad too. But is that right? Because she said in this, because the woman in this podcast, she was so bored with her husband, and I feel like that's something me and my mom have in common. I think my mom was bored with my dad, and I think my dad he's amazing, but I have so much more life. I'm so much more hype and lit. And my dad, he's not boring, but I would get bored.
Meet you at the level you're
at.
Correct.
So
either meet you or motivate you to keep that inspiration,
or join me in it.
I want to talk about a little bit about the couple, and they were getting divorced, and I did think it was cool to bring two people that technically on paper their relationship did not work out, but they were able to still sit down face to face and not hate each other, just to acknowledge that the relationship served its purpose. It didn't make it to the end, but it doesn't mean it was a wash, and they learned a lot from it, clearly.
Yeah.
And they just wanted different things in life. But what did you think about them saying goodbye to the marriage, to choosing to let that go together, and saying goodbye to the good and bad parts of it?
What I felt that was very valuable and needed to be done, and it was powerful. It sounded very hurtful, but when you can lay out clearly why things aren't working, it makes it easier to walk away. Not because it's easy, but because it's like, yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that. And
right.
I think they were both they're not going to get what they want from each other. They're two completely different people. And by the way these two talk, I don't see how they made it 16 years. Sometimes we do things because we think we have to.
And I think so many pressures of society, and bringing back to our last poll from last week about the idea of something being more attractive than the actual thing. And I unfortunately think marriage is that for a lot of people. They have this picture in their mind of what their life should look like. And I think it's got to be a very scary thing. I mean, even in a breakup if you're not married, that's scary to realize the person you thought you would end up with is not that person.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine having kids involved, having years behind the books where you kind of feel like you're here, you got to keep it going. So I can only imagine what that pressure would be like.
Well, I don't think that we are doing the work it takes to choose a partner. I see a lot going on. I be dating guys with kids all over the place. They just be hooking up with people. People are just hooking up. They're like, he's cute, I'm cute, we like each other, done. And they're not thinking about all of these things. I think I find value in having kind of like no choice but to find a mate later in life, because all the work that I've had to do to just...
People don't want to put in the work. I
No,
think
it's a lot of work.
And not to say that every relationship means you have to fight every day. By all means, like, that's not what it should be. But you can meet the most amazing person in the world, and you're not always going to see eye to eye. And I think it comes down to learning how another person communicates, doing things that you wouldn't do because you're doing it just for them, and showing compassion. And those are things that require work. You have to dig deeper to find out what it is to make the other person happy.
Yeah, and I like the mirroring technique, because in this couple, I definitely felt like the woman. I could relate to her so much, how he was saying that he felt like he was 4th, 5th on her list.
Right.
And I know how it feels to get comfortable, like, oh, they're going to be there, and to go out here, because she's a big personality. She's very spirited, just like there was a guy that was very spirited and his girlfriend is shy. I'm a very spirited person. I'm the life of the party. I'm running around talking to everybody. I'm creating a vibe. Da, da, da. I don't know how it would be to have a mate who is either shy or who wanted to move to Florida and retire. Like, honey, what are we going to do? If we don't have a travel plan,
hey, don't
I'm
hate
not going to
on
be.
Florida.
I think Florida's beautiful, but it is not sleepy time. Retire does not mean
of what they wanted in life.
Correct.
I think what helped I don't want to call it a fight, but them realizing their differences is they were specific too. I think a lot of times fights can keep going because people are very general with what's upsetting them. So by having actual details, saying he felt priority, he said that you put the kids in front of us, your friends. He actually listed
Family.
The order he felt he was in, not just, oh, I don't think you pay attention to me. He really laid it down, and then she repeated that exact order back. And I think she very much acknowledged that that was true, that he was all the way down that list, and that is clearly the reason that they didn't last. But what did you think about the couple where he was extremely social, and then it was this idea of sometimes the thing that attracts you most to someone is what you start to resent later on? Has that ever happened for you?
I dealt with an opposites attract type thing. I'm not sure so much, but what I did.
Well, even if there's something that you loved about a person became the thing that you were like, oh, why do you do that?
Yeah, I think that naturally kind of just happens. Like, dang, like I knew you were into it, but you really into it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So
well, this couple, the guy being so social, she loved that about him, and they even called her out saying that's what attracted you. But now she's like, you're leaving me everywhere, and I need to be involved. But let's hope. I wish we could see a follow-up with that couple, because his plan moving forward was to introduce, to introduce her to 5 people, I think?
Do 3 times, check on her 3 times and introduce her to people, check on her, see if she's okay.
But I gotta say, too, I wanted her to also take more authority where I don't...
Or stay home, baby girl.
Yeah, I want my guy to make me feel involved, but I also don't need him to check on me a certain amount of times. I want to be able to hold my own, where if you gotta go to the bathroom, I'm okay. Correct. I can hold a conversation. I'm my own person. Together we're stronger, but I don't need you to be here.
Yeah, and people are different. They talked about getting the person to fit in your picture, and then you mentioned how last week sometimes is the thing we're thinking of, just better than the real thing. And I think for them that was the case. She probably admired the fact that he could be outgoing because she doesn't have those traits, and then vice versa. He probably admires something about her introvertedness, which I think is good, but these are things that we have to think about. It's not just an initial attraction. And so, I just think that, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. I think there needs to be some kind of questionnaire, or how can we date better is what I'm saying. How can we get to the core of these things sooner, so it's not like after you're pregnant, after you've been together 6 months, after you move in, after you're married 10 years, and then you fall apart. Like, how can we better prepare ourselves up front to get more in alignment with the right partner?
And trust me, I just started dipping my toes back into the casual dating scene, but I really think it's about, and this sounds cheesy, but this is what I truly believe, is being authentic up front, and that doesn't mean... You know, we've talked about this with other love podcasts. It doesn't mean you have to say your deepest, darkest secrets over the appetizer, but also drop the facade of I'm always perfect and I never eat carbs. Like, be real, you know, be who you really are. And I think that's the quicker way to solidify a real conversation. And, you know, maybe the things that you don't think you should say on a first date, say them.
Tracy Ellis Ross, in the last show we did for the 2020 Vision Tour, she brought up something really good, because I used to feel that way. She would say, I used to think I had to be prim and proper and quiet and smile and da-da-da. And I used to feel that way, like, oh, maybe I'm not married because I don't act like a lady. Like, you know, my sister got married and she's very like Audrey Hepburn. She's really quiet. And I look and I'm like, dang, I'm a little lit. Is that what, you know? And it's like, no, I'm not going to diminish who I am or start pretending to be.
Turn down your light for someone else.
Correct, because what that man is going to find out, he's going to get this after a certain amount of time.
You can
and be
only
like,
suppress who you are for so long.
Back in the day, we called it the representative. Like, I met his representative, but now I'm meeting the real dude.
That's so true. But I really think that's how we can stop these fake relationships and social media. And I keep going back and forth whether I want to drop the apps or not. But that is, I think, the main difference between this 1993 interview to now 2020 is they didn't have social media as a factor.
Correct.
That's changed so much.
I think we're so much more surface level now. It's like we're fake deep. Almost. We love to, we love to post the memes. We love to put these long captions, and then we're crying at night every night, and we're not connecting with people, and we're fighting.
Fake deep is such a good way to explain that.
We're fake
deep.
Well,
because you're fake in the sense that really I want to be physically attracted to you first, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I do believe that's important. But then it's like, now let me see what you're saying and let me really dive into your answers and see what kind of person you are. But
some of the guys that have had...
I mean, I guess that's not fake, though, because that is important.
No. I'll tell you why I say fake deep. Some of the men that I've seen, like, first of all, I've seen some fraudulent men out here in these streets. So let's talk about it. But I'll see men who post this and might read something from Abraham Hicks or read something from this amazing book, and you quote but you're not that. You don't go home and focus it. You don't humble down to the experience. You don't sacrifice anything to be the person you need to actually evolve your soul. But you're real good at spitting quotes. Yeah. That's not good enough for me. I'm not falling in love with your quotes.
Putting exactly what she wants to see online.
It just makes you look evolved, like, you know, thoughts are things and be careful what you think and blah, blah, blah. You acting like you really get it, but do you understand the depths of subconscious and consciousness? Can we really have
calling these guys out, right? When you notice
I'm calling them out. You know, sometimes it'd be like, or I'll just laugh. Not everything needs to be said all the time. Because I'm just like, no. I'm so glad my discernment has gotten so much sharper, where I can see, like, I could hear the surface in that statement that you don't have no meat or grit or experience behind that.
Sometimes you can tell in the moment they're saying exactly what they think you want to hear.
Yeah, you got to get good at reading that.
I agree, where I'm happy I'm in a space now where I can recognize that too.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, I don't want to jump to, because I did ask this as a poll too, but what are your thoughts on if a marriage doesn't work out? Say, even if you're dating someone for years and you don't get married, but you had a very meaningful relationship, do you consider that a waste of time? Like, what's your thought on that?
I mean, because the good Lord says that all things happen for our greater good, I kind of have a little bit of no choice to lean towards that way and say, no, it's not a waste. I was in a relationship for 5 years, and I was engaged to be married, and there were a lot of times I went through the deepest regret you could ever imagine for wasting 5 years. But when I think about the value that I got from that relationship when it comes to evolving my own soul, not being so green, being open to things, understanding, you know, all the things that I understood, the stuff, my non-negotiables were made clear, the red flag warning signs that I was repeatedly kind of inviting myself in, I was able to be like, ooh, nope, that part of the stove is hot.
Yeah, they say
don't touch it.
To know what you like, you also have to know what you don't like.
Yeah, so I think it really helped me, and I think I needed it. I think I was just very young and green, and you know, he likes me, I like him, we're gonna be together forever. And it's just like, oh no, baby. Like, I now know much more of what to look for in a man to see if he's gonna show up for the long haul.
And I did hear, it was another podcast, but I thought it was a really great piece of advice where they said how lucky for the next relationship where now they are getting this evolved version.
Correct.
And maybe the Jaimi sitting here today, actually 100% the Jaimi sitting here today would not be the same person if you didn't get those lessons.
No, it broke me, girl. It broke me wide open. I was obliterated.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But I think that, and I've not gone through heartbreak, and that kind of scares me because
you got to do it.
feel like it has to happen, but I also,
it does.
It's one of those things where does it have to happen?
Yeah, it does.
But
I'm sorry. I don't mean to scare you.
Well,
but
I feel like
does.
it's something I should experience as a human being. And I've had heartbreak in different ways, not in, it's weird. Like, I always pictured heartbreak would be from a guy and it happened with family stuff, but it's just like, I do think it's a different kind of heartbreak.
It's a different kind, but I think it's heartbreak nonetheless.
Coming. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because
I gotta get the guy to be heartbroken first.
And I don't know how it works because, it's like with my first relationship, I didn't know better. I didn't know people would lie. I didn't know people would be fake. I didn't know people would cheat. I was really green. So my love was like, couldn't see nothing else but this man. But then that means when I fell, that I fell just as far down as high up as I was. Right. And now I think I'm just a better balanced human being altogether. So yeah, as I get better, I do see whoever I meet is going to be a much more evolved and, better person fit for me. Because all of this other stuff is for the birds. It just doesn't work.
Right. The idea is to take these lessons and actually apply them so we can have better relationships in the future.
Yeah, I saw the producer had a question up there and I missed it. Why is the term wasteful applied? Wasteful? Well, because when time goes by, we can't get time back. So our producer asked, why is the term wasteful applied initially if you waste something and
I can jump in and elaborate.
Yeah.
So I was just, I noticed you applied the term wasteful. I was just curious. The second question jumps in too. It's like, can relationships still be considered fulfilling, even being short, especially if you're friends afterwards? You know what I mean?
I personally think yes. I think I use the term wasteful just because they use that in the podcast.
That's totally cool, yeah.
And I think a lot of people have those types of reflection, unfortunately, where they're like, I wasted all this time.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think if you're getting something out of it, and sometimes, unfortunately, people are not friends after, but you still learn, okay, and let me not go for that kind of guy again or girl or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a bad relationship or ending poorly. I guess
Correct.
I'm thinking in a different situation for a longer one. I guess not everybody ends on good terms. Thus, why you're ending.
But then I like to be realistic, okay? Like, let's think about men and women and the most primitive form. We're meant to hook up, get married, or leave the married part out of it. On the most primitive, we get together and we have babies. We do a family, right? So all of this, like friends after, he's my friend. I feel like a man who's around you, he's either waiting to sleep with you or,
That one's dicey because some situations you do see people that seem to get along really well and can actually be friends.
But you can't, I don't think you can keep that energy. I think keep an X and X because
they eventually
sometimes,
fade out. Yeah.
Correct, trying to use the excuse where we're friends, it was good, I learned this, he's my friend. I definitely think that that's a fear mechanism and you're blocking the opportunity to meet someone who is for you because your comfortability. Let them go.
Yeah.
Let the ex go.
And
then
you
when you get your new person, I don't want to be friends with somebody who has a ton of exes on their roster.
Even if it's like they have a new person, you have a new person. I think it's nice if you have to be in the same area to be able to be on good terms. But
yeah.
I don't think I want my significant other hanging out with
people you used
whether
to
I'm
sleep
there
with?
or not. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, that is interesting. And I think it's also accepting this concept that someone might be very vital to the chapters in your story, but they aren't meant to get to the end.
Can turn the page. We get new chapters in new books.
It's a hard thing to swallow where it's like, why are you in my life if you're not the one? But I guess it's understanding that the lessons are a part of getting you to the final, hopefully happy ending. And happy might not necessarily, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
But like happy might not necessarily mean you're in a marriage, you have kids. Happy is just, do you feel happy? Are you fulfilled? Regardless of any societal title, because look at the divorce rate. Clearly that's not working for most people. So I would rather be alone and genuinely happy than being submissive to what society tells me and miserable.
Correct. I'd have to agree. And before we kind of wrap up this conversation, because it's just so good, we could go on. One thing that freaked me out about this podcast and made me stop and get to studying is he said, the way to stop choosing the wrong partner. So he said the person you're going to choose is the person you're attracted to. And the person you're attracted to is someone who is a source of pain and frustration for you. It's inevitable.
Yep.
And that's scary to me because I'm somebody you want to be attracted. We talked about physical appearance being important, but without doing this work first, I don't want to be wildly attracted to someone because I have unresolved issues with my parents and I'm bringing it up in the next human being until I solve it. I'd rather try to do the work first.
Yeah, I think it's filling that void within yourself and then finding someone to add on to what you've already evolved, and that you will be okay if it doesn't end the way you thought it would.
Yeah, because he talked about if it's the wound from the parent, that sometimes you're taking the role of the parent, and if you're not taking the role of the parent, then you're being the child again. So it's like,
all these things that we don't even realize we're doing.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, it's insane. You guys, I hope you got something value from this. This is so good. But I definitely want to hop into some news and gossip and get us going on our Super Soul poll.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right, so I want to be clear, we are not saying this in a way to make fun of Oprah, but just the overall lesson that even Oprah Winfrey herself, we're going to show the video before the poll, but even Oprah herself sometimes slips and literally falls. And the irony of this is that she was talking about balance. So this was at the LA Super Soul 2020 Vision Show, and you will see. Oh, Oprah takes a tumble, but she's okay. And I really like the fact that she also acknowledged that, you know what, I'm a meme now and that's okay. Just, it goes to show that even Oprah can laugh at herself. And then getting back to our Super Soul poll that I do every Sunday on Instagram is the idea of, do we consider it a waste of a relationship if the couple gets divorced? 15% says yes. 85%, so majority says no, they don't consider it a waste. And I noticed a lot of the yes were men, so that was interesting that men think it would be more of a waste.
Of course they would think it's a waste.
I think that's more,
it's a manly thing. Women, we have our biological clocks. We tend to feel like we don't stay quote unquote beautiful as long, blah, blah, blah. Like we're a little bit more rushed. We want to be taken care of.
I think that's focusing more on the title of the marriage didn't break, but does that mean the relationship was nothing?
I don't know.
And
it's
I could also
I had
see
a
people
friend
reflecting on just like bitterness of bad relationships. You never know.
Yeah. Well,
a
friend of mine, she's married, and I think we have that picture, and she responded this to the poll. Let me see. Is it up there?
My apologies. What are we grabbing?
The response to the poll. So I asked her why she said no, and she said, because with every relationship, you learn something about yourself, and you have to know to walk away with a positive outlook as to what you gained during that time. Because it feels like a waste when what we see was quote unquote lost. So if we change our perspective, Alejandra, thanks for sharing that. I just think it's kind of like if we change our perspective about it, we can find the value in what we quote unquote lost. Did we really lose, or didn't we just win because we learned so much?
This person was here to teach you something that you have to. I think everything comes back to faith that the right people will come into your life at the exact right moment. Yeah. And that all of these lessons are propelling us to be in the right situation to meet that person and give them all that we've evolved to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we can do. I love it.
Drop the mic.
I love it. And yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, no, it's really good. And I'm so glad you shared that, and we get to see, what the people think. So now let's go ahead and dive into Own Your Soul.
Your journey to become more inspired and connected to the deeper world around us starts right now.
Yes, so this is Own Your Soul, our special segment where we think about what we're going to take into the week to kind of evolve our soul and to move forward from things that we learned, during the podcast or something we might have caught during the week. So what do you have? What are you going to take into your week, Haley?
Well, a quick shout out to Maria's Better Together podcast. There's a Facebook group, and I actually posted in the group that this exact message of March just started, and I'm just on this kick where I hope it's not a kick and it does last, where I just want to be more open to opportunity. I find myself overthinking and not living because of, what if this happens? And I just, I want to take more chances and live my life and appreciate my youth and realize
Girl.
that, the coronavirus is real. Let's live our life.
YOLO.
And another AfterBuzz producer, Steven, actually commented he wanted to focus more on neutral thinking. So just that things don't always have to be horrible or amazing. Sometimes they can just be. And I think I want to apply all of that to just letting things be, living life, taking chances, trusting my intuition and acting upon that and that alone.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think for me, I found myself studying a lot of Michael A. Singer. My favorite book is The Untethered Soul. He sat down and spoke with Oprah a couple of times. But just to realize that the chatter in my mind is not me. So the voice in your head is not you. You're the one that hears the voice. So just putting myself in the space to be much more of an observer and to stop leaning into my drama and getting so involved. Sometimes I can feel really justified as to why I'm mad or why I didn't get this or why I did it. And in the grand scheme of things, it's not reality. It's all the way I choose to take it in. And I have a choice each and every time something comes up.
One of my favorite things is don't believe everything you think.
Correct. You can't, because that voice in your head is neurotic. One minute it's telling you, oh, you can have, an ice cream. One ice cream is fine. And then after the ice cream, it's like, you fat pig. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that broad is crazy. Yep. I can't listen to that voice. It doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like cars going by on the freeway. Yep. You don't have to get in.
Choose another thought.
Or just watch them. Relax and watch. Observe. So that is my main focus for the week.
I love it.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you got some gems and jewels and know a little bit more about how to navigate your love life. We'd love to hear the comments, so please comment below and let's have a conversation about it. You can check us out every Monday at 6:15 Pacific Standard Time on AfterBuzz TV. I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jaimi Alexander.
And I'm Haley J. You can find me Instagram and Twitter at HeyJ, HAYJ_. And make sure you are voting on the polls every Sunday. I do them in the morning, so we'll see you there.
Yes.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.